Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? This is very exciting because I'm going to be joined today by my friend Ali Skiba. So, some of you might know her from The Voice. She's going to be joining us today talking about opening up the voice, opening up communication, something that a lot of us struggle with. And I know a lot of women come to me looking for assistance and help when it comes to their communication. Because, of course, your voice is going to connect to the thyroid. The throat chakra and the thyroid is all connected, and this connects to the womb. So we're going to be talking to Ali today. Let's bring her into the room. Where is she? Here we go. And if best to go through the questions as well. So you're going to want to pick her brain. If you're someone that wants to learn how to communicate better and learn how to open the voice, she's someone you're going to want to ask questions to. Hello.
Hello, beautiful soul. How we doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see
Good.
you.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I love these.
Of course. Well, I'm sure everyone's going to have questions for you. And I've said that they're going to want to pick your brain when it comes to opening up the voice, speaking, communication. So before we go into that, did you want to introduce yourself and just let everyone know who you are?
Sure. Thank you, Laura. So I'm a singer, I'm a sound healer, I'm a voice activation coach, breathwork facilitator, and I'm also a recovering corporate executive who has found my path on the other side. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having
Of
me.
course. Thank you for being here. We were just talking about, a lot of women, they want to heal their voice and they want to be able to speak and communicate, especially in relationships. Like, I get this question a lot. And I always talk about how there's that connection between the thyroid or the throat chakra and the womb. So
Mm,
a lot of the time when women want to do that womb work and that womb healing, it's also about healing this
yes.
because they're in union, right? So
Absolutely.
how did you, first of all, how did you know that you needed to do something about this? The voice.
Mm. I had no idea I was capable of making the sounds that I now make.
Mhm.
Honestly, I was very much so. I played guitar as a teenager and stuck to the confines of the chords and the structure and didn't really play outside the box because I didn't think I was any good. And I was fairly shy growing up, but had an older sister that was quite bossy and pushy. So it forced me to speak up and it forced me to articulate my boundaries and my
Mhm.
no's, my yeses, and so forth. But ultimately, I really had no idea that I could have never seen myself doing the work that I'm doing now. And it really has been a journey of healing, of ultimately healing a lot of trauma, a lot of sexual trauma. So as you said, the voice is directly the throat chakra and the sacral chakra,
Mhm.
the womb space, they're directly correlated. And for a lot of us, when we have trauma in our sacral center, it results in a constriction and a closing of the throat. And for lifetimes, particularly women, we've been silenced, we've been suppressed. Especially, the empaths, we can feel what everyone's feeling in a room. So we hold back, we bite our tongue, we don't speak our truth out of fear of what it might do to others. And so that leads to all sorts of blocks and all sorts of pain. And I found as I started to heal myself, because I was struggling with a lot of anxiety, I was struggling with depression, I was struggling with adult acne, I was working in a job that was just not me, and went on that solo quest I mentioned around the world looking for answers from every guru, every shaman, every healer. And as I started to heal through the practices that I now teach, through breath work, through sound healing, and I found my voice. And as I healed and cleared that trauma, it was like something inside of me opened up and I was able to connect to different facets of my voice I didn't know I had. And, the more I started to study and understand the physiology behind the vagus nerve and our nervous systems, you start to understand that using our voices, it doesn't matter how good or how bad it sounds. It supports our vagus nerve. It tones the vagus nerve, which supports every function in our body. So long-winded answers. I did not plan to become a vocal liberation coach. It became a necessity for my own healing, to find my voice and to unearth the gems that I didn't know I had buried in me.
I like that, because I think that a lot of women, well, I suppose none of us, we don't really know what our full blocks are until we go through something and we heal a little bit, and then we look back and go, oh, that was happening and I didn't know because I'm in it. And women, I like what you said about the empath, because that's so true. We can feel everything, and so we really tailor what we communicate to certain people, because we know that that's going to come across quite hurtful, even though that's never our intention. Empaths are so gentle at heart. The intention is never to cause harm, but we can also feel where there's going to be some kind of issue or block, and so we have to kind of hold back. We don't want to say anything, and there tends to be this guilt or this shame in what we want to say, feeling guilty for what we like. Even just like, I talk to women a lot about speaking up for your needs, especially in a relationship. Like men don't read minds, like men don't see any, like we kind of feel it, you know. Like when I see you, like if you need something, I know what you need, and you would sense what I needed. We're women, but men are here for a whole different purpose. So you have to communicate what it is that you need, and some women even feel guilty to say what they need. For so many different reasons, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to say that because I don't want to offend that person, I don't want to upset that person. It's like, well, actually it's a lot easier if you just communicate what you need. Your relationship will actually flourish if you just communicate. But it's also, I believe, like speaking positive things into the world, speaking kind things into the world, you're going to receive them back, because your voice is to me, it's like one of my friends, Gerard Bull, he told me this. He said, your voice is the gateway between the non-physical and the physical.
Yes.
So what you hold internally, if you want to get it and make it physical, you have to speak it. And
yes.
I love that. Yeah. So if that's blocked, we can't create. Like, what do you see? If when clients come to you, because obviously you work with people one-on-one, so when people work with you, what are their blocks? What do they come to you and say, this is the problem, and this is what's happening because of that? Like, what do you see?
So for a lot of people, so the journey I take my clients through is usually a 7-week series where we go through the energy centers, and we start with the root chakra, for example. And a lot of my clients have these beliefs that it's not safe to share their voice, that they are not supported in their true vocal expression. So we dive deep into the mindset, but behind that, like, where did you gather that belief? And can we reprogram that? And can we actually instill through the vibrations of your voice with your focused attention in that center? Can we reprogram that belief and reclaim that energy to say it is safe, I am safe, and I am supported to share my voice? And using the vibration of your voice to blast through the blocks in the energy center, because for a lot of us it starts there, is feeling supported and safe, feeling like we belong speaking in a group of people. Because a lot of us, especially my female clients, they don't feel like they have a right to speak up, and they find it easier to just stay quiet. But as they stay quiet, they find everything around them just gets a bit more, constricted and difficult, because again, they're expecting people to know what they want. I've spent most of my life hoping that people could read my mind. And then when they didn't, I got upset. But yeah, ultimately for a lot of the clients, it's just looking at the beliefs and what do you believe? Because our beliefs shape our reality, and what we think and how we feel and how we act creates the world around us. And it's all vibrational. We're just a collection of waves vibrating at different frequencies from one moment to the next. And when we can start to attune our frequency to, something that is much more aligned to our true nature, we can start to see that ripple effect out into our world. So Yeah, I think a lot of us just don't believe that we're safe to speak up, and it could be past life, it could be ancestral. We had a conversation about this with the witches, about witches being hung and burned for speaking or sharing their magic powers of seduction and all sorts of things. And it's no wonder that we feel these blocks. And yeah, so it's a process and it's a journey. And with voice activation work that I do, it's not about sounding good, it's not about hitting the right note. It's a deep resonance within, where you're connecting to that energetic body, and you're awakening the energy centers. So it's so powerful. And I think many of us have yet to tap into the medicine of our voice, because our voices are a direct living connection to the deepest parts of who we are, and many of us are not connected to that part of us, but we're aching to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of, I suppose if we go back to childhood, a lot of, from what I see, there was always a negative consequence to speaking up. And so we just like, oh, I'm not going to do that again. Like, because when I do that, my mum doesn't speak to me for 2 hours and I feel really unsafe and alone, or my dad walks away and that makes me feel abandoned. So we just learn to tailor the voice to what we see around us. But there's so many voice blockages in the most of the clients I see. They've got it in their maternal line, like the women, their mothers, and then their mothers' mothers, and so on and so on. It's followed down this ancestral line of women not being allowed to speak up in different ways. But I do believe if we begin to learn to open that up and speak in the right way, like when I read Conversations with God, one of the questions he asked was, "How do I say something but not offend anyone?"
Mm.
And the answer was, "It's not about that. If you speak with integrity, with kindness, and with love, how that person chooses to receive it, it's got nothing to do with you anymore. It's not your business
Mm.
anymore." Because like the empath, right? It's like, oh my God, I don't want to say anything. Like, but even me, like I've said things where I'm like, oh, that came out really wrong, and I'm sorry if that. Like I'll catch myself immediately, like I'm so sorry if I just offended you. That came out wrong. Um, for the most part, it's like I know that I speak with kindness, and I know that there's kindness in me. I don't have any ill intention towards anyone. So if someone hears something I say and wants to interpret that in a certain way, including my videos, including my work, because people leave comments, right? I'm like, you just like
Yeah.
2 + 2 = 17 for you. I don't know where you got that from, but they're only going to hear what is connected to them. They're going to take
Mm.
offense to it if I'm talking exactly to the wound instead of the self. And so it's like, well, look, I put my videos out with the best of intention, and if you want to be offended by them, by all means, but that's got nothing to do with me. That's not my business.
Yeah.
So as well, it's like owning who we are and knowing how we speak and why we speak, and then letting the other person take that the way they want to take it.
Absolutely. And I mean, intention is everything, because I know for myself, really looking at what is the vibration behind my actions? Is it coming from a place of fear? Or is it coming from a place of love? And, as a kid, I found I actually started to over activate my throat chakra in a way where that I wanted to speak wherever I could to be heard. I would come up with a question just to use my voice, just to be heard, just to matter, in the classroom of people. And I started to notice there was this desire to just be heard, and it wasn't about what I said. And then as I went through my healing journey and really understood, like, well, what are those deep seated needs that aren't being met, and how can we find those and meet them within? Now everything I do is looking at, okay, where is this coming from? Yeah, and not only what do I need, but what does the room of people I'm about to go hold a workshop for need? Or what is this group, retreat? What do these people need? And how can I be of service, and not just speak from, what I think they want to hear, but what really resonates from my heart. And yeah, as you said, it's really all about coming from that place of pure intention and love.
Yeah, yeah. Because if we know our why, like why am I saying it, where's it coming from, that makes everything a lot easier. But I think a lot of the time we don't even, like we have to learn to connect with that. And there is this like tipping scale, right, where it's like I've never had a voice, and now I've kind of been given my voice, and I'm going to say everything all the time, and then we go overboard. I know I did that, and then I had to learn, like, okay, Laura, you don't need to say everything all of the time. Like, that's just controlling it. It's not suppressing it, it's controlling it. Um,
Yeah.
because you know when you learn to speak up and like, oh, I'm learning to speak up for my needs. If someone's upset me, I'm learning to say, like, this bothered me. But then I was pointing out every single little thing, and I was driving myself nuts and being like, Laura, you know, it's not important. Let it go.
Right.
So again, it's learning that balance, right? Like,
Yeah.
too little and too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, finding your voice is just as much finding the words, but it's also when not to speak and allowing the silence and
Mm-hmm.
allowing some things not to be said and
Yeah.
just trusting that people will figure it out on their own. Part of my journey has been learning that I don't need to control the universe. Hey, go figure. This
Yeah.
planet, these people, they've been taking care of themselves for thousands and thousands of years. I don't need to control it. In fact, I
Yeah.
can release the burden of doership, as I was talking about last time, and surrender and trust. And the more that I can feel that, down-regulated nervous system, the more my voice opens up. And I've noticed through my journey with voice activation and working with clients and holding events and retreats and singing at festivals is if I'm not in a good place, if I don't feel in my feminine, if I don't feel supported, if I feel like I'm in survival mode, I just can't channel. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. It takes a lot of effort to create sound, to move sound. My voice just doesn't have that tonality that I know to be, my divine frequency. But it all goes back to feeling supported, to feeling safe, and to feel, just in flow.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, talk to people about going on The Voice, because you were definitely in the flow when you did that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a fun one. So for those watching, I brought sound healing to the mainstream for the first time in the show's history.
Mm.
And it was not for a chair turn. It was not for a contract. It was to share my medicine with as many people as I possibly can. And I got the opportunity to do just that. So yeah, I'll walk you through. So I rock up to the first audition with the producers before like the actual television event, because I needed to win them over first. And I rock up with my medicine drum. I actually have here. This is Rainbow. I made
Ah.
Rainbow at a ceremony, goatskin drum. So I rock up with Rainbow and then my acoustic guitar. And I told the producers, like, all right, I'm going to give you a dose of alley, acoustic alley, and then I'm going to give you a dose of shamanic alley, which is very much so aligned with the work I do. So I sang them Cranberry, Zombie. I sang Jolene. I sang some, classic songs that people would know.
Mhm.
And then I brought out the drum. I sprayed rose water in their faces, had them close their eyes, breathe into their heart,
Mhm.
and then I allowed myself to just find a beat and to just channel and allow whatever sounds wanted to come through. I couldn't tell you what it was, but they seemed to like it. They said, "I've never heard anyone use their voice like that. What is that technique? What are you doing?" And I said, "Look, I can't even tell you what the technique is. I've found this through my own healing journey, and this is what I call song channeling." And you're welcome. So then they invited me back. Next thing, I was in a room with 8 producers, and I had my bowls, I had my chimes, I even brought the flute, I brought the whole kit and caboodle. And yeah, they said, all right, well, let's hear you with the bowls. And one of the producers is like, oh, I've never been through a sound healing, but my tummy hurts. And I'm like, all right, we're going to use the E bowl, because I had 7 different singing bowls, all attuned to the different energy centers. And so I picked the one that corresponds to the solar plexus for her poor little tummy. And again, I just got lost in the drone of the bowl, and then I allowed myself to channel whatever sounds wanted to come through. And in that moment, they said, all right, we're going to make an exception. We'd really like you to do that on the show as opposed to singing a song. And I was really, really stoked because for me, it was like, oh, I get to be me. I mean, as much as I love singing like Cranberries and Johnny Cash and Jeff Buckley, like I love that stuff. That's where it all began. When I'm channeling music in the moment, it's when I feel most connected to source, and I just get lost in it. So when they said that I would be able to do that on the show for the blind auditions, I was on cloud nine forever. And so then it came down to the big show where I got up there, and yeah, it was so surreal, honestly. Unbelievably surreal. And they didn't turn their chairs, and I'm glad they didn't, because it was exactly what I wanted out of it. It was just an opportunity to share sound healing, you know, with the mainstream. And so many people, you know, I think we all love entertainment and music. Music is, you know, food for the soul. We all need it. It's, you know, one of the oldest collective, you know, activities for us as humanity. But I think a lot of people are hurting, and to open them up to you know, a genre of music that isn't just about entertaining, but really about speaking to your soul. It was something for me that yeah, I'm very pleased with how it went, and very happy that I was able to get on there. So yeah, and thank you to all my new followers. Yay.
I'm surprised that chairs didn't turn though, because I've obviously been in a room with you when you're doing this, and the work that you do, it goes through your whole body. That when we did the first, when I first met you, it was, I didn't know. I just saw like singing bowls, and I was like, great. And I met you, and I was like, oh, she's so feminine. She just sprayed rose water in my face. Like I feel like a flower. I feel great. And then when you were doing the singing bowls, all I could feel was my throat going like this. And I was like, and after about 45 minutes, anger came out, and I was like, ooh. And then it kind of went down. I was like, oh, okay. So I could feel it. But you know, I'm quite in tune with my body, and I can kind of feel it in different chakras. But even if I wasn't, you can feel the energy move through you. So the fact that no one turned their chair, that surprises me.
I think I'm right. I know. Part of me was like, wait, what? The funny thing is, I didn't have a timer because I didn't have a song.
Yeah.
So I had to like mentally know when to stop after 90 seconds. I could have just kept going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like charm, I'm like, come on, people. But a part of me thinks that they wouldn't have known what to do with me. Because, and to be fair, I told the producers day one, I was like, I'm not looking to be commercialized. I'm not looking to be made into a pop star. I'm looking to raise the vibration of humanity, and I want a big platform to do that. All right. And so I think they're like, all right, this chick's going to be problematic. She's not going to take orders. We're probably going to have to, you know, yeah, jump some hoops to get her to do what we want her to do. And so maybe it was, yeah, just not their cup of tea. And I mean, to be fair, if I had progressed, they would have had rights to my originals, control over my hair, makeup, wardrobe. They would have had a lot of control that I think they could already tell I wasn't going to be going along with.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know who the coaches were when I went up there. They're like, so who would you choose? And I'm like, funny you should ask. I don't watch TV, and I don't even know who the coaches are. But I'll tell you what, I said, I hear Jessica Malmoy is a huge supporter of women's rights and, you know, indigenous culture. So I'll go with her.
Yeah.
So it was, they thought that was pretty funny. And I thought, look, I'm not here to make the show and to be, you know, be the next voice pop star. But it was really good exposure and a great experience.
Yeah, because people would have found you afterwards, right? You would have gained quite a lot of followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real went viral for a little bit there, and yeah, it seems to have calmed down, but just need my next big debut to go on air. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, you got what you wanted. Your intention was done, right? Because if you just wanted to send your voice out, not only did you send it out over national television, but you also brought people to your social media page. And everyone here following and watching this later is going to go to your page and find you.
Yeah.
So people are starting to have that healing. Like they are going to
Yeah.
get that, right?
And I mean, even, even through Instagram, the amount of feedback, because I wasn't singing in any language, it was all channeled. I wouldn't even call it light language. I just, it's my soul song in that moment, on that stage, at that point in time. It's what wanted to come through. And the amount of feedback I got from people in different languages, I had to Google Translate just how my sound moved them. And I had a woman who was in palliative care who couldn't eat her food because she's dying of cancer. And she said that she was able to stomach her food that night because she watched me on the show and saw me. And it's just like, what?
Wow.
What? Like, this isn't about the clients and the bookings and the ticket sales. This is something so much greater. And it has, I'm constantly reminding myself of that this is so much bigger than the business of it. And yet, the business is a vital point as well. But it really just reinstilled that significance of just connecting to people's souls, whether you're singing in their language or not, and to actually be felt in that way was really special.
Yeah. Well, vibration is spoken in all languages, right? It's like I've you can see a couple that are together and they might be speaking Spanish, but you can tell if she loves him and you can tell if he loves her because of just the energy and the way that we use the voice. Because that's
Yeah.
important too. It's not what we're saying, it's how we're saying it. I mean, how many times did I hear that when I was a kid? Laura, it's not what you said, it's the way you said it. Right, okay, let me just tailor that. But it's the way we communicate. And so many times we're so worried that we're going to say the wrong thing. It's like, no, say exactly what you want to say, but say it in the right way. Put the right energy
Yes.
underneath it, right? And I speak, when I would, you know, teach women, I'm doing a lot of workshops at the moment or about how to speak to men. Like that's something that's come off the
Yeah.
back of all my room. And it's like, well, if you speak to the king in him, the king will respond. Simple as that. If you speak to something out, whatever version of him you speak to, that version will respond. So if you don't like the version that's responding, speak to a different part of that person, whether it's male or female. But a lot of women, they'll do that, like when they're with their men, it's like they'll either emasculate him or nag him, and I'm not saying that there's not a reason for that, because nagging comes off the back of like, you're not listening. But there's a way of communication, and there's a way to get what you need. And I've noticed in myself in my past and in like clients that I've spoken to, like if we don't have the voice, we have to do so many other things to get what we need. Like if I can't say it, I'm gonna have to guilt trip you, manipulate you, stonewall you, gaslight you, just to get you to do what I need you to do. And then even if you do it, I'm gonna feel guilty because I took such a negative path to get you there. So that's never positive for anyone, and that comes back to us. That energy comes back. Easier just to speak with kindness, to say this is what I need.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear about your journey with stepping into your authentic voice. And I know you've been, running your business for almost a decade, online, sharing and speaking your truth. How has that journey been for you? I'm sure many of us would love to hear.
To be honest, I feel like I've only just found my voice, and it might be connected to why suddenly I've got an extra 25,000 followers. There might be a connection there, because I always kept myself quite quiet, and first of all, I never used to speak up for myself. I was very bullied when I was younger, so I think I just learned to sit down, shut up, and don't cause a fuss. I learned that from my childhood, and then it was shown back to me when I was, in school. So when I started doing this work, obviously I was doing my YouTube videos and I was talking a lot, and I can talk for a long time. If you're in my classes, people know I'll talk for an hour and I don't need any questions, just let me talk. So I can talk for a long amount of time, but whether I let people hear me is a whole different thing. And it wasn't until I met my partner that I realized that I wasn't speaking up. Because when I met him, I was like, babe, you're a bit loud. Like it was too much for me. Not when he spoke to me, because he spoke to me differently than he spoke to like his what people that work for him. So he'd go from like speaking to them, like me, he'd be like, hey, you know, like, hi, how are you? How's your day? Like speaks to me this way. And then one of his employees rings and he's like, you need to make sure you do this. You need to make sure you do that. And he's very assertive and he says what he needs. If he doesn't like it, he'll tell you. And he speaks with quite a loud tone. And I was like, the loudness is bothering me. I was like, babe, can you just not, you're shouting. And after a few weeks, he was like, I don't think I'm shouting. I don't think you want to be heard. He said, I think you're really quiet. And I was like, the man's right. I couldn't deny. He was right. I knew that. I could. As soon as he said it, I was like, ah. He said it with such kindness. He was like, I think you just don't want to be heard. You're really quiet. And so I noticed then that when, for example, if I was walking downtown and I was on the phone to someone, I'd be speaking really quietly. I don't want to bother anyone around me. That was my thing. Don't let me bother you. I'm so sorry that I'm on the phone. I'm so sorry that I'm having a conversation. I don't want to bother anyone. And in turn, it meant that I would be offended when someone would bother me. Like if I could hear a neighbor having a conversation outside my door, I would be really offended. Like, shut up, stop it, be quiet. You're disturbing my peace. And I wasn't even letting or allowing people in my vicinity to use their voice. I was actually suppressing them without even realizing it. So, yeah. So a lot of it was his influence. That was the only conversation we ever had about it, and that was all that was said, those two lines. But it got me thinking, and just being in his presence, I found I was speaking louder. I was like, sorry if I'm disturbing you, but I'm teaching a class, or I'm on the phone, or I'm not going to apologize anymore for using my voice. And he just allowed me to speak. He held a space for me to speak. And I was allowed to say whatever I wanted. There was not a negative consequence. I was allowed to say how I feel. And it opened it up. And then, of course, I go viral. So it's kind of, to me, it's like connected because I'm willing to speak now and I want people to hear me. I'm willing to speak. I'm going to say stuff. And I'm not going to hide the voice. Because I could feel like oppressing here. Like when I speak, it was like everything would close and I would feel like there's something pushing on my voice. Like, sort of speak really quietly and not allow it to echo out and bring a real message. So mine's more recent. Yeah. But for me, the block was I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to be a disturbance. You know, I don't want to, stay out of everyone's way and just be quiet. So that was my block.
Yeah, it's funny to think because now that now that your voice is being heard, all around the world, that, anything but an inconvenience to humanity. We need to hear your medicine. We need to hear what you have to say. And while you have been sharing your message for years, now it's finally being heard and people are resonating with it, or it's stirring up conversation, or maybe it's triggering people to look at where their shadows are and how they need to, perhaps look at themselves. Have you found in some of these confronting, perhaps exchanges with people that have different views, that you're also getting an opportunity to use your voice in a polite but direct manner?
Yes, like there's when it depends on the comments. Some people just comment, say this is BS, and I'm like, I don't even respond to that because that's taken no effort to type that, so I'm certainly not going to make any effort to type back. But sometimes people will leave quite long comments, and it kind of depends on where I'm at in my month. If I'm ovulating, you're going to get one response, and if I'm bleeding, you're going to get another. So sometimes sometimes I will be probably quite, people might think it's rude, but be abrupt or be quite confrontational, maybe a little bit sarcastic. And I used to be like, oh, I shouldn't be saying that because I'm a healer, so I should be all like love and light. And no, actually, I'm going to tell this person to F off and actually go look in the mirror. And I'll just say what I want to say in the most sarcastic way, because sometimes that's how I express myself. And then other times when I'm a bit calmer, I'm like, I'm going to respond and I'm going to get you to kind of look at yourself and look in the mirror, but I'm going to do it in the most respectful way. Like, with all due respect, I understand what you're saying, but have you thought about this? Because what you're saying is showing you these things. And you can either get angry at me and other women that say these things, or you can look in the mirror. So I'll get them to look at it, but there's other times where I'm gonna use my voice and be like, do you know what? I'm just petty McPetty. I'm gonna just
Yeah.
be a bit sassy and bring that out. But I've had some messages from people that have left negative comments. I've had two of these where they've come back to me and said, I left a negative comment and I read your response and I've taken some time and you're right.
Wow.
How often does that happen? Like that,
Wow.
so it's like, okay, cool. So it's kind of like the universe is letting me know that sometimes I can be quite confrontational, and to, like, with all due respect, look in the mirror, because if it triggers you, it's for you. That's it. If it
Mm.
triggers you, it's for you. So if you watch one of any of our work, it's like if you say something and someone wants to immediately fight back, it's because they're defending themselves from the truth that you're showing them within themselves. And so triggers are one of our best ways to grow. We just have to let the defense mechanisms go down, be a bit humble. We don't know everything. So be humble, be graceful, and listen to us, like the trigger. There's a message, right?
And stop saying sorry when there's nothing to be sorry for. The amount of people I interact with that are like, oh, sorry, or sorry, or sorry. And it's like, actually, you don't need to be sorry unless you did something that you genuinely, feel sorry
Yeah.
for. But I'm very careful with the language that I use nowadays. And if I'm going to decline an invite because I don't feel like going, I'm actually not sorry. I'm going to say, I won't be able to make it tonight. Have the best time.
Mm,
Because our language is yeah, crafting our reality. And if we're weaving sorrow into our day-to-day conversations, it just doesn't really bode well. And as I've worked with vocal activation and working with more and more clients and realizing how our words really do, it's our words are affirmations into the universe. And
yeah.
so being mindful of what we say. Like I have clients that are like, oh, I can't sing and I'll never sing. I'm like, well, you just place that order to the universe. Do you realize that? Delete, because our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between, our joking self and our satire, where we're just trying to like be liked because we pity ourselves in public. It doesn't really do anybody any favors. And so when we say things like that, it's like be really mindful of the words that you're using. And
Mm,
uh, you and I have talked quite a bit about mirror work and looking into the mirror as that portal of like, you're a legend and I love you. And today we're going to do magic, and I cannot
yeah.
wait for the rest of the magic to unfold. It's so powerful what we can do and create with language. I mean, you look at Sanskrit, the oldest language in the book, in the world, which is what all the yoga asanas are. The Svadho Mukha Svanasana, the Anahata, all the Sanskrit names for different postures and chakras. That language was created not necessarily because of the meanings of the words, but because of the vibrational qualities that those words have on the physical body, on the energetic body. So our words are so much more than just modes of communication. They viscerally can change our entire being and our entire world. So being mindful of what words we're putting out there, and especially, when we are in dialogue with someone that's being confrontational, taking those breaths. And for me, it's like not sugarcoating and not inserting a bunch of, and I know because, care about your feelings here, don't want to hurt your feelings there, smiley face, wink, wink, kiss, kiss, love, love. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to be direct. And oftentimes I prefer phone calls and voice notes, because text messages, oi,
Yeah.
oi, it's like it puts me too much in my cerebral. I rather get on a voice note and say, look, this is how I'm feeling. And I just want you to know that I can see your perspective, or whatever it may be, and just
Mhm.
use the words that come through, as opposed to a intellectually crafted dialogue that is inserted with all sorts of buffers to support your peace and well-being.
Yes. Yeah, I see that. And I see that a lot on social media today, because people are so afraid to be cancelled that they're always like padding their words out, like, well, it's not because of this, and I know that I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying this, but this is what I think. And it's like they're trying to protect themselves from offending someone, because we live in a generation at the moment of everyone chooses to be offended. I think you have to choose to be offended, by the way. I don't think I'm offending you. I think you're choosing to be offended, because I will not say anything offensive. So we won't go into it today, but there's a huge victim consciousness that's washing itself through the world, right? Where everyone's the victim of your word. I'm a victim of your words. I'm a victim of your presence. It's like, no, they're not. Like, but it's like this call for attention. There's a lost generation that will find themselves and will be very powerful when they do. But yeah, I do notice that people are padding out their words and trying to make sure. It was actually one of my ex-partners who taught me just to say it and get to the point, because I used to do that. I'm like, look, this is how I feel. I don't mean it against you, but there's something you did the other day, and I just want to, that's how I would communicate. And he'd be like, Laura, just say it. Just say it. And he'd get so frustrated with me, and he actually taught me to just say it. And I was like, well, I don't want to offend you. He's like, you can't offend me. You can't offend me. I'm a 35-year-old, 6'6" guy. You can't offend me with your words. Just say it. So he taught me that. Yeah, it's like, it's so much easier. Just get on with it. And so, yeah, he taught me that. But I noticed the difference, like, because that was when I was living here in Australia. When I moved back to England and went and spent time with my family, I noticed how I had to pull back again, because they had taught me, my parents had taught me to really hold back and not speak. And now, at that point, I'd been with a guy for 2 years, gone back to England and been like, I've got my voice. I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. And then I was like, oh, I can't say that. I don't want to offend you. You're so sensitive. So, it's like, pay attention to the people that you can communicate with and the people that you can't. And I always encourage people to tell me, like, if you don't want to go, tell me. If you do want to go, tell me. Like, I went for a walk with a friend a few weeks ago, and she gets very low iron. And we were going to go for a walk. We were going to finish off our walk. And I said to her, we can get food in this place, but it's probably a 5-minute walk. So are you going to be okay to do that? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And we walked a few steps, and I was like, could feel energy from her. And I was like, don't you dare lie to me. If you're tired and you don't want to go and you don't want to walk anymore, tell me. Don't lie to me. Tell me. You can tell me the truth. I'm not offended. Tell me the truth. And she was like, no, it's okay. I'm fine. But thank you for saying that. Because now when I see you, I'll know if I can't walk any further, if I'm too tired, if I don't feel well, or I can't do something, I know you've given me permission to tell you, and that there's no negative consequence. And so we have that friendship where we can just tell each other, hey, I know we were supposed to go for coffee this morning, but I'm not feeling great. Can we just not? Fine. There's no negative consequence. So you're giving people a gift as well. Like, when you're creating a space for them to be completely themselves, and that's a gift. Those people are gifts, like, meeting people like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, creating that space.
It's also those that, those that are hesitant to speak up in front of even their closest friends is often a reflection that they're hesitant to speak up to themselves, that there's something that they themselves haven't really confronted, that maybe they need some mirror work to say, like, what's going on, what's really deep down, what are we feeling, what do we need, what can I do for you, that little inner child within, what needs have not been met, and what can we do together. And that's why I love bringing it back to the voice activation and the voice play. It's like letting that silly little inner child come out and play and make noise, like, whatever it may be. Like, people are like, what is that noise you made? I was at a festival and this weekend, and my little call to find my friends was a and a little Skiba. And people were like, what the hell is that? But they love it because it's like reminding us of our inner child, and people are just kind of like, oh, that's not normal. Oh, but I fucking love that, And it's talking to that, like, part of us that has been conditioned and boxed, that's like, oh, we need to, look pretty, smile, sound right, speak soft, not too strong, say the right words, not too loud, don't hurt their feelings. And it's like, nah, let's have some fun, and let's let it get loud, let's let it get raw, let's let it get wild. And And the more that I play with it, and the more you give others permission to play with it themselves, because we take this life so seriously. We take everything so seriously. And if there's anything I've learned is that we're here to play, and not just on our own. We're here to play with each other. We're here to, play and sing and dance and be free.
Well, we certainly, I feel like going for a beverage this morning after yoga. Everyone definitely knew that we were in town because there was what, 3 or 4 of us sat outside having cacao and coffee, and then you seem to know every single person that walked into the coffee shop, and every woman seemed to know you, and that there was an interaction, people walking past, and everyone kind of knew each other. And so we were very present this morning. Like, people knew we were there and we weren't afraid to be there. And and it was everything we speak is through love. Like the yoga teacher walking past that had just taught us the class in the morning, like telling her thank you, like that was beautiful, thank you, sending her love, using her voice to send loving energy. And even the woman that served us, whenever I see her, I always tell her, you look beautiful, because she always carries this incredible energy. I'm like, yes, her whole vibe. So you can really change people's lives with your voice.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that compliment you gave Juliana about looking beautiful, like that made her day. Like some of the
Yeah.
things that we say, we don't even know how much impact they have on others. And all it takes is just, and for many of us, it's difficult to open the mouth and to say the words. But, once you get it out, once you start getting familiar with it. And so if you're watching and you feel like you'd like to start opening your voice, just start making sounds in your living room. Just start playing with, using your words, and compliment, the next person you see on something that's colorful that you like, or something, because it's really, we need to take responsibility for the energy that we bring into the world. And when we raise the vibration, of one person, it's a ripple effect to all of humanity. So I love that. And I love that you and I go to the same yoga studio, and we can do more coffee dates.
Yeah, they're the best. Walking in this morning, I knew it was you, like, because I could feel the vibration, because everyone has such a unique vibration. And if we can picture it, Ali was just like with the big pillow behind you, the bulk that literally goddess like this. And I was like, that's Ali. I can feel the energy, like, that's her. So everyone has that unique vibration. I think the more that we open up, and like we have all these blocks, the more that we actually really open up the energy, the more present someone is when they walk in the room. It's like, oh, I know that that's her, because I can feel her. I can feel her before she walks in the room. So, because so many women are looking at that, looking at being that presence, but we have to start remembering who we are and undoing what we've been told, and paying attention to how we communicate, how we feel, how we speak, how we listen. Because the process is also about listening. Do we listen, and do we give space to people to talk? And that's all connected as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And taking up, like, giving ourselves permission to take up space. Like, that was me in yoga this morning. I'm like, yes, I'm going to crawl out open, taking up space, because I belong. Damn it, I belong.
Exactly.
And you do.
Do you know what? It's only just occurred to me now. I don't know that you knew. I don't think you knew this happened, because you wouldn't have seen this. But there was a lady next to me, and when your friend came in, forgive me, I've forgotten her name. Ingrid. So when she came in and sat with you, now, yes, the room that we go do yoga in is a silent room. Fair enough. Okay, I get that. But people do just kind of like, hey, how are you? Like, we'll say hello, right? So she sat next to you and she was talking to you, and it was very quiet. I didn't really notice it because it was very quiet. But the woman next to me was very offended by her speaking. And she was like, oh. And so I looked over at her and I was like, well, that's my friend. So I don't know what you're looking at, but look somewhere else. You weren't talking. It was your friend that was talking. But she was very offended. And I was like, it's interesting that happened this morning, when we're having this whole conversation about you're allowed to speak. And although I can say, like, okay, yes, it is a silent room, maybe she shouldn't have been talking, whatever. It was very quiet in my opinion. But at the same time, the chances of the woman next to me never being allowed to speak was probably very high, because if she wasn't allowed to speak and now you have another woman who has the audacity to speak in a room that's silent, it's like it triggers that inner child that says, well, that's not fair. How come you can do that and I can't? So I'm going to shut you down and stop you from doing that because I'm not allowed to do that. And we shut other people down when they do the things that we don't give ourselves permission to do.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
that's very timely.
not to mention Ingrid was talking about a nice little shag she just had. So he was probably
I didn't hear that.
Wasn't getting any.
I didn't hear that. I see, this is what I mean. Like, she wasn't speaking loud enough for me to even hear what she was saying, but this woman was offended. Fair enough. Like each to their own, and I do understand why this woman would be about that. But you know, it's like, look, she's allowed to speak, and she's telling a friend a story, which is probably sounds like it was a very important story.
Right.
Right. But your friend Ingrid, like, she has such a bright energy. She has such a big open heart. It's like, how can you shut that person down? Like, how could you shut that woman down? So again, I think it's just, if I don't let myself do something, I'm going to be very offended when I see you get to do it, because the inner child says, well, that's not fair. I want to speak and I want to play, you know. And I'd imagine you doing those voice calls, people might look at you and be like, why is she making that noise? But really the inner child is like, I want to play. I want to do that, you know.
Yes.
So sure, we should close up in a bit. Is there any questions in regards to the voice, speaking, communication, or any of Ali's work that anyone wants to ask? We'll just maybe do like 2 minutes of just seeing what questions, and then we'll let you go. And if anyone wants to work with Ali, just head over to her Instagram, because everything's going to be there, right? Like all your links and everything are going to be there. So voice activation, you can check out her singing bowls and all the work that she's doing, and even check her out in a festival as well when you're next doing one of those.
Yes. And enrollment for my mentorship program is open. So if you're interested in stepping into your light, working as a sound healer, breathwork facilitator, getting into the medicine that is your voice, just hit me up and we'll have a chat. I'm not seeing any questions. Are you seeing people joining?
No. There were questions at the beginning, but I don't think they were connected to the topic. So I'm not going to scroll back to those. If anyone has a question about the voice, let's just give it a minute and see.
We heal thyroid.
Can we heal the thyroid?
I'm not a doctor, so I think I'll just add that disclaimer. But I believe we have the power to heal anything and everything in our bodies with our intention, with our energy, with our voices, and with our breath, because we are all vibrational beings. Can we heal thyroid with sound? I believe we can. I believe we can. And if you'd like to work together and test it out, I'd be happy. We can do a study together. And if you're in Sydney, that would be better. Otherwise, sound online is a bit less effective. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sound is incredibly powerful, and we're just scratching the surface in terms of scientific research and review, the profound healing benefits of sound. But it's as ancient gets, using sound for healing and ceremonial purposes.
You'd be a good person to do the thyroid healing there, because the women that come to me for thyroid healing, they live their life in their masculine. So they burn themselves out. It comes across on the screen to me, but it might be because I know you personally. Ali is the most feminine. Like, when I met you, I was like, this is a divine, feminine, delicious, like, just woman. Yeah. So you kind of, like, if you're going to do healing for the thyroid, you want to do it with someone that's in that feminine flow. So you kind of like qualify on all levels. So I just want to put that out there for you, because I've met you in person many times and I can sense like that energy is there. So not only would you be able to do the thyroid healing with the bowls, the singing bowls and everything, but even just your presence and your essence would allow your clients to soften into feminine. Just saying.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Just to add, my healing journey going back to, sound is huge, but also breath work.
yeah.
Like I've been able to release a huge amount of trauma in my body to create this pathway for sound to come through me, because I was very much so blocked up, and I was very much so constricted by the stress and the pain and the trauma I had in my body. So if you've never heard of breath work, let's work together. I have resources you can download. I have online workshops we can do together. So definitely check it out. I see a question here. Does the voice tonal quality have anything to do with how feminine or masculine a woman is? I mean, does husky mean masculine? I would say my 2 cents on this is no. I don't think vocal tone really depicts how feminine or how masculine you are. I think it literally just has to do with the way your voice box is structured. Hereditary, how, what genes you inherited that create the tone and the sounds.
Mm.
I have a very deep, earthy voice in a sense. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm more masculine or more feminine. And I think we can take it a step further to say that masculine and feminine, really depends. What are we talking about? Energetic? Are we talking about gender? Are we talking about, like, how are we defining that? But ultimately, I don't think it necessarily is a direct correlation.
Yeah, because I've known women in the past that are really feminine. They've got really husky voices, but it brings like this real stability, like the root chakra, like a real stability, like I am here, I am present feeling. Whereas a woman that's got a kind of a really high pitched voice, and that just brings a different type of like, they're both just as feminine as each other, but it's just, I guess, their vibration of their energy or what they represent, like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't think it means that they're more like one of my best friends. She's got a really husky voice. She's very feminine, and
Yeah.
actually, the husky voice adds to her femininity because it brings a seduction when she talks. So it's like the different archetypes of women. Like the lover might be more gentle and soft spoken,
Yeah.
but the dark feminine might be more husky and present. So maybe there's a connection there. I never really thought about it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it affects how feminine or masculine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
Yeah, because I suppose you get men. One of my friends from years ago, he used to hate his voice. He said it wasn't deep enough. He didn't like his voice. He didn't feel like a man because his voice wasn't that deep. Uh,
Ah.
yeah. So maybe there's a belief behind it, but it's very masculine.
I mean,
So.
yeah. I mean, I find my voice changes depending on the state I'm in,
Yeah.
like I was talking about earlier, depending on the state of my nervous system.
Mm.
If I'm in survival mode, it might be a bit more, definitely a bit more nervous, a bit more fluctuating in its resonance, and definitely not as pleasing as I'd like it to be when I'm in a more down-regulated nervous system response.
Mm-hmm.
Could be hormonal too. Hi, Lindsay. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to share?
Oh, look, I just want to give my love to everybody that has been listening. Give my love to you, Laura. And as I said before, if you're interested in connecting with your voice, not only for, to sing and to entertain and to be a sound healer, but really to heal yourself. Let's connect. Be happy to work with you. I have offerings online. And again, breathwork changed my life. So if you're on a spiritual quest looking to start somewhere, let's start with breath work, and then from there we can open the voice and go through all sorts of amazing journeys together. Thank you, Laura. What do you have going
Thank
on?
you. Gosh, at the moment, oh, my main thing, well, to be honest with you, I'm going to be closing up my mentorship soon because I've had quite a few bookings. So if anyone wants to jump in with the mentorship programs that I do and work with me one-on-one, please do that ASAP, because I'm looking at booking people in from December onwards soon. So everything's been a little bit crazy my end. But there are going to be some masterclasses coming up. I have my women's circle tomorrow. We're going to be talking about father healing. So that's been a big topic for my followers, asking about healing the father wounds, healing the masculine. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow in the masterclass. If anyone wants to join for that, then the links are all in the bio. The women's circle link is all in the bio for anyone that wants to hop in and say hi. But that's all what we got going on right now. I'm still coming off of the high of the influctuation of people. So I'm just getting finding my little feet again, and now everything's really beautifully balancing out. So I'm very grateful, and I'm so grateful for you for being here. So thank you for coming and speaking to my audience.
Thanks for having me. Oh, and I have 2 events on this weekend. Anyone in the Sydney area, tomorrow we'll be doing Saturday, voice activation, breathwork and sound healing. And then on Sunday, more sound healing, yin and massage. And I've got 3 retreats on next year. So again, hit me up, subscribe to my newsletter, and let's make some things happen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to repost this so you can check it out later for anyone that wants to rewatch. All right. Thank you for being here.
Yay. Thank you for being you.
Thanks.
Bye, my love.
Bye, love.